Okay, welcome to the special meeting, February 7th, 2023, for budget workshop. Roll call, please.
Bergman,
Here.
Nichols, Osborne,
Here.
Siebel,
Here.
Smock.
Yes. We're here.
Excellent. Well, we've had a lot of discussions on the side. You know, I've talked to Jeff, I've talked to Steve, I've talked to, approval of the February 7th, 2023 agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Opposed? So just kind of get down to it. We'll probably have one more budget meeting. I'm going to assume at the next meeting, and then we'll be setting the date for the max levy hearing. The state is still up in arms as far as if they're going to do the 50% rollback as we received valuations for, or if they're going to do the 54% rollback. That would change our valuations completely. So we're kind of still up in the air on that, but we're getting the word from Department of Management to move forward. So that's what we'll do, move forward. Some of the things that, you know, we have talked about, I talked to Jeff, Justin, Steve, is in regards to expenditures and if there was anything else that we can cut out. One of the things that Steve brought up was he asked for some numbers for some police chiefs around the area. As you can see on the handout, here comes Ron. I got Dyersville. These are all similar to our population or less. So Dyersville, Hudson, LaPorte City, Manchester, Mount Vernon, Owine, and Vinton. You can see that they're quite a bit more than what we are. Even LaPorte City, they're bumping their chief up to 67,787 come July 1st. And also Hudson said they were going for a 5% increase July 1st for their police chief. So we were, and I put in your budget notes that in FY21, chief received a 1.5% raise, where, you know, rest of the contract employees or what have you received 3%. And then FY22 it was 2.5, FY23 it was 2.5. So with a CPI being at 8.2%, I think it's warranted. Of course, all the rest of the employees are going to be, you know, at their normal union rate as contracted. We did talk too about, you know, maybe more part-time. I did explain that when the chief has available time, just because there's a lot of people on our police department that have longevity with us, which is great. So, you know, we're going to have vacation and casual days and such, you know, that, you know, we'll need to have a full staff again, because you've seen tonight on the regular agenda that we did receive a resignation from Cass Dietz. So we'll be honoring him tonight later for his years of service. In order to keep overtime down, I think that we need to fill that position. I mean, that's not on the, you know, obviously not on the agenda tonight, but, you know, there were some thoughts out there that maybe we didn't need to hire another one. Like I said, when chief has an availability for someone to pick up, a part-time person to pick up some hours, you know, he texts it out to all of them to see who has availability at that time that it's needed. Any comments on that?
Is there a reason why we wouldn't want to, replace one for one?
It was just something that was thrown out there.
Okay.
So
I didn't know if
I
there
wanted
was
to
a
bring it up.
particular reason
Didn't want it
behind.
to be in the.
I brought it up, Justin, for the fact, I was looking at it fiscally. We had one retire, one left, then we hired one, and we got a half of one, and they're working their 10-hour shifts. And I haven't heard a word about coverage issues. I did talk to Deanne, and I was looking at the overtime, and I understand, because my opinion, going back to what the mayor said, is if we have part-timers, a couple of them I think are attorneys, and if they're not gonna help us serve what we need, then why keep them on the roster? I mean, I would like to see us look at another part-timer, or a couple part-timers, or, I mean, when you leave the benefits out of it, you're talking 25, 30,000 in savings, and still get the coverage. We hired a part-timer that I guess is doing a great job. We're not paying benefits. I think it's something we should have been pursuing before tonight, talking about the police budget actually. But I'm the one that brought that up in the thought of taking that money out of their budget, and then of the one patrolman, and then if something comes along this year, this fall, this summer, whatever, and we get a great civil service commission and we got names and somebody's gonna go through the process, come to the council, I'd have no problem with putting that back on. But what I was trying to do is get the budget down to about a zero turnaround. Look at everything at a zero base and go from there. I know you can't do that wholeheartedly, but you're talking 60, 70,000 there just in the police budget, by taking that out of CAS benefits and his wages. And I was looking.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I was just looking at for some overall savings. We've got a lot of things on here that I think we could do differently. But that's just my opinion on that one line item talking about the police right now. I don't think it's fictitious to say that for that savings. I mean, if we had a list going right now and there was people galore in line to get an officer, I'd have no problem with saying leave it alone at what this proposed with the increases are in there. That's what it's showing, right? The new budget is showing the increases for July. Leaving those increases in, and that's just my thought. The council can decide their thought process on it. I'd like to hear everybody what they think about it, rather than just myself or Justin.
Well, and there's gonna be, sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's
Keep
okay.
going.
It's okay.
Okay, and then there's gonna be a slight decrease, obviously, because, what Cass was making, and I will go ahead and do that and resend them out to you. You know, there's gonna be a slight decrease already, because
you
of,
weren't here.
Years of
right,
service
because of
wage.
years of service.
Years of service have changed.
Yeah, because
Leave
his
potential would be
years of
lower.
service was 12 years, so.
So, and I wish, nope, I don't see Chief Dean yet, just to check with him, because I think that just puts him back to the normal level. And not only is it just to keep overtime down, but also that if they need that extra floater, if somebody calls in sick or anything, yes, we can get more part-times, but like you said, Steve, we've been hard-pressed. You know, he's been hard-pressed just to get some of the part-times to come in. Officer Engel has been in quite a bit, which has
Yeah.
been great.
Yeah, if we could have a couple more of him, we'd be
Yep.
blessed, so.
But, and right now, with the position remaining open to hire for Officer Dietz, the budget still is at what Steve was referring to as a zero, correct? Basically, there's no increases and we're set to, or right darn close. I think you said it was about 13,000.
The only, as far as, the only increase in there is for Chief Dean. All the rest of them are just regular union budgeted wages.
Yep, but the whole, Steve, you were referring, you wanted to kind of get to that, what I'm assuming is that zero base, so we're not increasing any taxes, right?
That's what I was
And
asking.
that's
what
where
you're
we're
saying?
at
Okay.
right now.
And that's because I'm with you there. I don't want to see any increase,
Yeah.
especially this year. I think with everything else on everybody trying to just buy milk and eggs,
Yeah.
you know, we can take a break on a couple things this year to try to keep us at a neutral.
I would still hope, though, that we would look more seriously at looking to see if there's part-time out there available. It's a savings to the city, and we're still gonna get coverage done. And
Are
if
we
these
gonna,
people,
are we gonna pay the schooling for the part-time if they need it? If they're not,
I think that
I
comes in.
don't believe so. I think they had to come in. We only did it for full-time when we reworked
they
their
have credentials.
kind of the stipends and things. We wanted to get them in for all the extra little bonus hires that we went through here 6 months ago. I know we increased the wage for part-time, but I think they had to come in ILEA ready to go.
Yeah, we don't have it
Yeah.
budgeted for education.
Yep.
And so then therein lies our problem, you know, already having a difficulty having some coverage with part-time. How are we gonna have now more to try to find the part-time and to have the qualifications for it? So I'm just playing devil's advocate with it, Steve. I understand where you're going with it, but you know, if we can't do it now, I don't know how we can try to do even more.
Well,
on the
I
part-time
respect
side.
that, Jeff, but what I'm saying is, the last year we heard that we couldn't get anybody.
Yep.
Then, I'm not gonna go into the whole story, but then all of a sudden, people come out of the woodwork and we got a good hire on a full-time and we got a
If we can
part-timer.
continue that trend, that's awesome.
And so I was just looking at saving those dollars unless it's absolutely needed, then I'd
Yeah.
have no problem putting it back in the budget.
The thing is, where you gonna get it if you don't have it in the budget? If we haven't got the money, then where you gonna get it to put back in? That's my.
Do the
question.
amendment later,
You
yeah.
do the
Yeah,
amendment,
do
all
the
the
amendment
fund, general
later,
fund
but-
and put it back in there. At least you're getting more of a reality check of what you're gonna
I
approve
agree with
now.
what you're doing, but I
Yeah.
don't understand if we take it out of the budget, and we don't get the money back in at someplace, where are you gonna get the money to pay the
Pay the what, Ron?
part-time?
To add it later.
To add it later.
We'd make an
To-
amendment if we hired in and
If
they're
you did
over
it
budget.
later, I mean, you're only gonna get so much money, maybe you need it.
Correct. It's much easier to have it up
It's
front.
much easier to have it up front and just set aside.
Yep.
That's
If
my
you don't use it, you don't
otherwise
use
I
it.
agree with you. That's-
But my thought is, once you give a budget and nothing takes place with hiring, that money just massages through the department. Could be a surplus at the end of the year, or it could come out pretty flat, and we don't have the money in there and we didn't hire. That's my concern at the year end, not today.
So if the money stays in the wage section and in the police department, the police department can use it for whatever? If we don't need it?
I mean, they wouldn't, you know, because it would be budgeted as far as wages
If they
go.
didn't use it, it'd still be there.
Yeah, it would,
Yeah.
that's right, yep. I mean, and it's gonna, you know, we're looking right now about 13,000 just to cut out, just to be completely even, instead of take that out of reserves, which, you know, I don't think we have any intentions of, but I could say that just adjusting, Cass's wages down, I bet we gained that 13,000. I mean, are pretty darn close.
And there were other things, just, I mean, just.
Yeah,
as you've been
there's a
talking,
couple other
Stephen, well,
things
there's
that-
some other
yeah.
things that I think we can make up that 13,000, because I had even talked with the mayor and, asked her kind of where are we at right now? You know, I don't want to take a big step backwards on anything, but I absolutely don't want to ask for more. So are we at neutral? You know, are we at that, let's keep it where we're at for the levy? And she said we were 13,000, but we could take it out of reserves. I was still of the I still rather would look to say, okay, where else can we get 13,000 from? Or what are other big projects that we can put on hold? The one item that did come up was the parking lot for Angels Park.
Right.
Love the idea. I would rather do it all at once, for my personal opinion. But for this year, the 55,000, okay, we're 13, we gotta find somewhere. There's where I could see a balance. There were still several things for the parks, for example, that the showers, the golf cart, and other things that, okay, those are in the budget, we can be at the net. I don't want to drop back.
If we got the equipment, why can't we put the parking lot in ourselves?
Well,
we got-
are you talking about, I think they were talking about blacktopping it. I don't think that,
Blacktopping, and
I think you have to have the equipment for that, and I don't think the street department, I would assume they don't have
He
that.
told me, did you say we still had the equipment? We got the lay down machine and the roller?
We have it, it don't work.
Well, I thought you said last time it worked.
He actually has a professional opinion from,
Star equipment,
Star Equipment on that asphalt layer, right?
yeah. and
That
was-
it's actually a hazard to even run. And I'd be happy to supply that to you, cause he said he
No,
would give it to
yeah,
us.
I know the last time I asked him, he said it run and the roller run, so I figured, well, why couldn't we?
Yeah, it hasn't run for years. Years. Actually, somebody brought that up in my office today and I was like, well, it was before my time when they said they were gonna fix it all up, and, cause he said instead of buying a new one, they wanted a new one. And he says, no, we're gonna fix it up, and I says, well,
We took it to Star Equipment, they looked at it and they told me to take it to Wiseman. They wouldn't even look at it, I mean, they wouldn't even fix it.
sorry, I know I went into parks over the PD piece, but I wanted to circle back to make sure that we were,
I would rather see us look through line items to cut back than take it out of reserves. I think there's money in here if we wanna, well, I know there is if we want to go with the thoughts that I had in here, but, I mean, if the consensus is to leave, I have no problem with the consensus of the council if they wanna leave the wage line alone. I just ask all council people to pay attention to that in the course of the year and see if a hiree comes on and if that money maintains in that budget, so you're gonna know the disposition come the first of next year. Cause we had a heck of a time,
When?
cause we went through quite a bit to try and get an officer. So I find it very unrealistic that we're gonna wake up tomorrow and we're gonna have a list of people that wanna come to work as a police officer.
No, it's definitely a process.
Yeah, so it's not an immediate fix.
I just asked Chris if we could rent that equipment. He said, yeah, he just doesn't know what the price would be if we rented the equipment.
Probably cheaper than hiring the job out.
we're most likely, because we're providing the labor then.
Right.
And that's an expensive piece, is labor.
It's something I think could be looked at, Tom, to see what could be done on a rental and the city blacktopping it. Chris, do we have to put blacktop down in the new area back where the grass and everything's gonna go? Or can that just be the reworked road stuff?
No, the stuff, no, like, where we already have the reclaim.
I think he's talking about where the burn, you talking about?
Where the grass and the burn, I think, is gonna go with the sewer plant change. Back in that road to the right, isn't that what that thought process was, of the 136,000?
Yes. It's
Okay.
for the pad.
Yeah, that's.
It's
what I'm
for the
getting-
pad.
I'm asking, does that have to be blacktop?
No,
Okay. Is that 136,000 blacktop?
yeah, no, that's what was that? It was asphalt. It was asphalt.
But we wouldn't have to asphalt it for that cost, right?
No,
What do you think it'd be if we didn't blacktop that area back in there? Would you have an idea at all instead of that price?
oh, it'd be substantially cheaper.
Maybe we could do the blacktop there and at the park with the street department, and we would cut it all out, where the cost would be a lot less.
I'd be interested to see what it would cost to have the street department do that back there for savings, if it's tremendous savings. And then that savings could maybe go, to the Deerwood, or to Myers, to maybe hire that out, or maybe, I'd like to see that option. That's kind of a good thought. If we can get it for half the price, then it makes it more feasible to maybe.
But those are, you're talking completely two different funds. The garbage
Okay.
fund and the yard waste fund are proprietary. They're their own business. Just like the sewer plant is, just like stormwater is. That's
Okay.
budgeted, we're taking that out of reserves. We build up quite a bit of reserves in the garbage and landfill department, to the tune of about 350,000. So you're talking general fund and, garbage and landfill, which is, like I said, proprietary.
Can something like that be billed? I don't know, just asking.
Oh, like bill the,
Garbage,
yeah,
For-
for the labor,
yeah.
yeah.
And then that could somehow squeeze, I don't know. Sounds like a lot of papers, but
And this-
A lot of paperwork to get it done, but can it be done?
it could be.
Yeah, it could.
On this yard waste, are we gonna increase the cost to the cities that use that too? Or are we gonna foot this whole?
You know, that hasn't been something that we've looked at for quite some time. So,
I think it's something that should be looked at and notified, because why should the citizens be picking up $136,000
right,
and getting 2,500 from the?
yeah. But we're doing it because we're choosing to do it because of our wastewater treatment plant. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not real sure why we're not throwing it against that expense, the rehabilitation of our wastewater.
What are we doing with it?
Well, we're doing it out of garbage and landfill, but I think we could because it's a result of the wastewater project. That we're moving it because we need that we need that space.
I understand that, but also I understand that economics, when it costs the citizens of Evansville $136,000 to put it in, and you get it to another city for $2,500. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not good business.
Well, they're $2,400 and they have been for years.
You know, what I said,
But that's, you know,
if
something that
if it
we,
costs us $136,000, that's poor business practice.
something that we should maybe entertain.
So I guess my bottom question I'm being directed to is, can you guys do that, where the new place is gonna be, Chris, to save money?
Yeah, we can definitely look into it.
Exactly, worth for next meeting, or even emailed out since then. I mean, we're not setting numbers today, so
Right.
we got time.
Is that gonna be concrete
No.
Asphalt.
like that?
That's one.
Mhm.
We'll know what that
Well,
would
it
cost.
just, you know, just whatever we put down there has got to be as good as what we have now, because it gets a lot of traffic.
What cities do we have actual formal contracts
Just
with for
Raymond
that one?
and Elk Run.
Okay. So,
We get a lot of it from Waterloo too. You go by our store and they turn down there, you know,
Yeah,
they're not
there's-
taking it home.
yeah, there's a lot of randoms that come in that are just, it's hard to
Well,
police,
and-
unfortunately.
We do have security cameras down there, so,
Yeah, but what's that tell you?
well, when you get the contractors that are coming down there that are,
Blatantly
tree
they-
contractors that are putting
I mean, if they
logs this big around,
If they got their name in the truck, you can find them, but
Yeah.
if they don't, then,
we get license plates.
License plates.
License
We can get a
plate.
license plate.
because there's a lot of them. Sometimes in the summertime, there's 4 or 5 times big truckload coming by and
Yeah.
trailers, they haul trailers. And,
Well, and you can let Chris know, and he can look it up. He can look up their license plate,
Oh, I
and
don't
we go
know,
after
take
them.
but I just see them go by, I don't follow.
Oh.
I know where they're
Know where
going.
we gotta put them.
Well, if they're coming from west of you, you know they're not living in
They turn
Evansville.
down River Forest Road, they got a whole road down
Yeah,
there.
you got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give Chris a call though, so he has to head up. He can go on the security camera, and yeah,
Does anybody look at it?
yeah,
How many people have you caught?
We
Well-
caught a handful.
yeah.
Say, what was it, half a dozen just through the fire department facilitations last year for all the crap we had to go out on?
There's huge logs down there when I go down there.
Yeah, we've prosecuted one, a couple of them too.
They could come down and pick it up. Like some of that stuff, you would think that they can't even roll that out of the back of their truck. It's that big.
I know.
That's why you have
Earth
trailer.
moving.
If they're that big stuff, you take it down to the campground and have it split.
They do that too. I mean, they, so, you know,
Sell it for campground.
Maybe we unloaded for them, I don't know. I've never run down there.
We've had plenty
No,
of
we don't do
wrong
that.
stuff put in the brush dump, that's for sure.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
We're doing good. We're in the middle of our budget hearing, so, our budget meeting.
So everybody knows, these numbers represent the new budget in July. The proposed increases are in with these numbers for July 1st. The increases in pay, if they're, and everything. I just wanna make sure everybody knows that they're incorporated into that.
Mhm.
I just look at it, we're gonna have to cut something somewhere a little bit. We don't have a big enough bucket for everything unless somebody can come out of the woodwork and tell me all sorts of great ideas that we could save money. We got a lot of departments wanting a lot of things and we got just so much money.
Well, it sounds like only about 13,000 if we don't want to touch reserves.
Right.
So we're 13,000.
I'd like to
Close.
see more than that, but that's just my
A
opinion.
little
That's
more
one customer.
cushion, you're saying, Steve?
Huh?
A little more cushion
Right.
than just 13.
I'd like to see it up in the little bit of the surplus side of the overall.
What kind of number are you looking for?
Well, I've talked, it depends, really, it's gonna depend on this parking lot thing. I talked to Tom about this parking lot, looking at the numbers, if that could come out of there, and I know I visited with the mayor. I was looking, could that be prorated, or if the city can do it? I don't know, we gotta see what venue we can go there to decide
Yeah.
if we leave that or whatever. We got an unknown variable tonight that I didn't know.
or like Christie said, maybe just do half, you know, on that parking lot, you know, since the whole thing, needs to be done, but maybe just do half this time. Is that kind of what you were alluding to that on your earlier statement?
Who?
Christie.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's
Yeah, on the parking lot at Myers.
Well, no, what I was thinking earlier is if the street department is able to, which I was kind of
Yeah.
surprised because I didn't even know I wouldn't have even thought that we'd have a blacktop machine or whatever, but that's just me not thinking fully through, but I was thinking if the street department can do Angels Park and the spot that's at the yard waste, so that's 132 and Angels Park 60. If
Right.
they can do the street, or if they can do the labor on that and do it themselves, that's gonna probably cut the cost in half.
Okay.
I mean, I'm only guessing.
Right.
I
No,
don't
that-
take my
that-
word for it.
that's-
I'm just guessing labor's usually half of what it costs. Now, I could be
So,
wrong on that because
I would say that's a very accurate guess.
I think it's a good venue to check into
Yeah.
before a decision is made.
Well, and like the mayor was saying, maybe it can be done. It's just gonna take some paperwork acrobatics.
Yeah,
To get
yeah,
done,
no,
but-
that's no big deal. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
we can,
But
well,
I mean,
when-
that could be one of your variables, Steve,
Yeah.
where if we can get the labor costs down to that. I mean, that's kind of where I'm going too, is what is your number or average number that you're looking for over 13?
I'd like to see it be at about 25 to 40 surplus rather than 0. And there are line items that could be done pretty quick, but just my one opinion.
Yeah.
Some of it's gonna depend on the street department. If they can do that, if they can do that stuff, that solves some of the issue, but we don't know that now to really put a final talk on it.
I just did the calculation of just like the 60,000 and the 136,000, and half of that would be 98,000. So like, I mean, we still have to take into consideration the street department's wages and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
that's just a quick calculation.
right.
And I don't even know if that's what it would be for.
No, I don't, Chris would have to get those numbers for us.
He probably knows
It's a good
way
ball.
more than I
It's a
do.
good ballpark to just kind of
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
Right.
What else?
I mean,
Somebody else talk too. I don't wanna be the only one talking.
Well, when the mayor talked to me about the issues here, I told her, you guys pretty much dropped me into this last summer already, so I'm fairly fresh. So I'd like to say that I'm more learning the process of the city's things and procedures going on. So I really don't want to throw out there too much, without kind of having any experience with it. So. Coming from being on an executive board with the union, I do know how to work expenditures and stuff like that, but again, you're talking a small entity compared to a city, so it's totally different. So like I say, I'm trying to learn first, and then maybe
You're doing a great job.
maybe in a couple terms, maybe I'll have a better opinion.
Well, I just think, guys, if you look through this, I guess, staying on that just for a minute, Mayor, on the wages, I guess where I struggle with that is, we just had a conversation about the library and took them down and, looking at the overall budget, and I just can't, I myself at this time, unless I can see something else, can't warrant putting a buffer between their July increase. I mean, I'm not totally unsold of it, but with what I've had talks with you and discussions on that other department, I just can't in my right mind do something one way and then do something the other way at another department. I don't think it's fair.
I don't
That's
follow
just
you.
I
don't
guess
follow
I'm
you,
not
Steve.
following you.
We lowered the wages in the library.
Well, it wasn't
But I
lowering.
understand what you're, I understand. But I'm just saying, we had that dialogue, that it was gonna be a max going in the new year for the 3%. So
Yeah,
I'd like to see everybody stick at the 3% in July per their contract. That's just my candid opinion tonight.
okay, any specific department you're talking about right now?
You
I
still
mean-
on the library this year?
The police and the street, the things that we have in front of us.
Okay, because Chief Dean is not on contract.
I
mean, he's
Mayor, I
not as
understand
part,
this. I'm just-
okay,
I'm talking the percentages to whoever, whether
Yeah.
it's a person or a department or whatever. I
which we
understand.
are, besides Chief Dean,
Right.
who hasn't seen any of those increases, even close to what the department has received.
And
For
I
the
think what
last 3
my
years.
concern is what we went through in August, and you and I have talked about this, I didn't wanna bring it
Yeah,
up.
no, it's okay.
If, whatever you wanna call the increase, I'm just concerned that the other officers or other people that work for the city are gonna say, well, this came up and we did a catch me up and they give us money in between our contract, they give us extra money. And then you start that animosity, well, I think we should go for that and get that too, if they're gonna give it between their contracts that they sign. Then let's bring up our spill and talk about what we want it. I just think it's opening up the door a little bit to have more issues rather than we want less issues. And that's just my belief on it tonight.
And you are entitled to your belief. And like I've expressed several times, it's because of
I
the raises he was not receiving.
I fully understand everything
Yeah.
you're saying, Mayor.
And I think that the police wages were a little bit different just for the fact that we were struggling with hiring people. So we had to do something to try to entice people to come. I think that's the whole reason why we went and looked at the wages for that, the police. So the other ones, I mean, obviously we're not having much problem. We hired somebody in the street department just last year. So so you know, that's a good sign that we can find people. So the police, I think, is okay so far.
So what you're saying, Steve, is, because I heard there's a 6% in the wages right now for the chief, the numbers we're
right.
looking at.
Right.
And the other ones are just the standard union,
Yep.
the other.
So you're saying, Steve, just to put a number on it, you want the chief back to 3%.
I'd like to see everybody on the 3%.
Okay.
Well, we always go whatever the union contract says. The mayor or the street department or the chief always seems, for some reason, gets the same increase that's allocated for the people. And I think it's only fair. And I know there was a lot went on last year. I'm not putting blame nowhere, but there was a lot went on why it probably didn't go the way it should have went last year. I'm just trying to be fair going forward and not favoring any particular person or body.
So would we be okay, like, if we looked at, because for the chief of police, like, all of the officers got like a $2.15 or 14-cent raise. Would be something more doable for that for the chief of police? Like, to make it,
I haven't even run that number to see
Yeah,
what
I
that
was
would be
trying
for
to
the
do
chief.
that.
What is that?
Versus what he's getting. I haven't even attempted to do that math yet. But,
that's something to,
yeah, that
And then the regular raise in July. So go back to that, what was it, $2.11? Dana, do you
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah, I was
I
trying
have
to
to look for the
figure
past meetings. I
Yeah.
want to say it was 214.
I was thinking it was 214 too, but I could be, I don't have a very good memory. I have to look at the notes for everything. So,
Didn't you guys say in October in a recorded meeting that you guys were gonna look at the street department wages? Steve, Christie?
Yes.
Both of you said that in a recorded
Yes.
meeting, that you guys
Yep.
were gonna look at
yep,
an increase in the street department wages?
yeah, we got the,
Before the whole July thing?
yeah, and we do, I mean, we just got
Yeah.
comparables on it
We
last
just got this comparable
month or-
today to look at.
So we've been looking at those. We
For the
haven't-
public works
So you
workers.
just got it today, you've already made your decision.
Well, no, this
You
was,
just said that, you just said 3%, their scheduled increase in July of 3%.
Right.
But in October, in a recorded meeting, you said that all these guys, you guys are gonna look at their wages as an increase right after you
You got
look
your
at the police
you got
department.
3% last year.
No,
2.75.
Sorry, 2.75, and whatever it'd be this year per your contract.
That's not what you said in October.
I'd have to see the tape, I'm not sure that we said that.
I know that I said I wanted to review it.
Review it,
And
okay.
so, I know I was still reviewing it, I know we just got the paperwork for it, so I don't know, like, I don't know if it's figured into the budget or what yet, I have to look.
For Public Works, if we're going to Public Works now, to their budget,
I'm letting, yeah, we're gonna be off.
if we go to the Public Works, and yeah, we only got about 9 minutes, but we have another meeting.
I just didn't want.
Well, and the
them to think
Public
that
Works
wasn't-
is, we'd figure an additional 2.25%.
So, okay. On
So
top of
it's
the-
the 2.75. They've gotten 2.75
Okay,
for this will be the third year of that.
okay, so 2.75.
Plus there's 3 in July.
No, 2.75.
Okay,
Oh, we went to, I thought
It's,
3%.
they're at 2.75. And it was a 3-year contract.
okay.
They've been at 2.75 each year.
But effective in the proposed budget now is what total? 5, 5.5?
5.
5, okay.
So an additional 2.25
One-time bump
one-time bump
outside of contract.
outside a contract bump.
Okay.
And that's in this budget,
Yep.
in front of us with, right now, a $13,000 overage from the levy.
Well, road use,
The
if you look
chart.
at road use, which,
I know we were high there.
road, yeah, but road use, of course, you know that is road use taxes, and also 50% of our lost revenue goes to roads as well, because that does offset the general fund, if you consider it that way. So we do have a deficit we are budgeting a deficit in road use because we need to work down. Right now, we're close to $1 million in reserves. And just from my experience in the past and working through the street finance report, they don't like to see that unless you have a huge project that you're gonna do. So we've been trying to do street projects, like last year, this fiscal year, we did a $300,000 street project. We're planning another street project of $300,000 for next year. And we're gonna reevaluate that when spring comes, what actual street that we are going to be working on. Cause there was, I guess, some other streets that were brought about. But I did, we talked about it in October last year. We talked about it, when we were going back and forth with the police department. I have to, from a personal and a professional level, I have to say, of our Public Works Department, they are there 100% of the time. Actually, they're there 110% of the time. I've seen them go out in 30 below wind chill weather because someone had a plug in their system, in their sewer system. Matter of fact, I went there before they did and talked to the people, and they showed up just shortly thereafter. They're basically on call all the time, especially in the winter, and the summer too. They're working weekends. They're working evenings. If someone calls on them, comes through dispatch or what have you, they're out there.
Nobody's disputing their work.
No, I'm just saying.
You're saying you want 2 plungers?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let's go down there now.
I'll get off my soapbox, but I really appreciate all of our departments here. I don't know what we would do as a city without them, because they are worker bees.
Well,
They, just like that morning, something needs to be done about this area in Lafayette, and Chris and I went out there, and, I said, something you can do today. It was going to be a warmer day that day. And he says, let's do it. And they're just always willing to serve. And I respect them.
the
Every
way
department.
I saw it, especially after what we went through with the police department and making sure we could keep that staffed, the other departments, like we all said up here, we're all talking and we're, all aware of what we were doing. I guess I give them credit for being patient, because they could have, like you guys said, they could have played hardball and decided, nope, you did them, then we want it, or we're out of here. And it is a employees market still, where even some of them are still getting poached from other areas, and we'd like to retain, the good talent. So I certainly don't want to ignore the fact that they did kind of just not give us grief since October to do something sooner, and that they're waiting all the way until July for us to determine to allow us to work it into a budget, which right now, two things that I sit on is, one, we're $13,000 over that we would pull from reserves, but even planning to try to not do that to keep us at pretty much the exact same levy rate. Again, we're down to the thousandth of the cents, so we're way down, but we're real close. Once that's done, in my book, that's where I sat first, is do we need to raise taxes, or are we way low where are we at? Then if we're that close, and the second thing I look at is, okay, is there anything in there that's just truly wasteful? Just things that we're throwing good money after bad, otherwise these are all worthwhile projects. These are all things to keep our community growing, beautification, protected, moving forward. And that's where we need to be. Because again, in anything, business, government, whatever, if you're not growing, you're dying. So if we eliminate things and want to continue to always cut back, tax savings is great, but why are all the other big communities that taxes are higher than us growing way faster than us? It's because not just that they have low taxes, that's not the only draw, unfortunately, anymore. They have all these other services and functions and beautification projects and things that young families are attracted to. So I still want to balance both of those. Don't want to tax the heck out of anybody, but I absolutely want to make sure that we're putting money in the right places to keep us moving forward. So,
Mayor, I had one question jumping around on the city clerk. Why did the insurance budget go down so much this next year? And I see the rest of them maintained or went up. Why is that one down on proposed versus what we're in now?
Well, on insurance, it's going to be because there was 2 staff people that were budgeted.
Under that same category?
Yeah, we actually are budgeting in our general fund. We are budgeting for a part-time person where, obviously insurance would not be an issue, so.
But that's why it's down, because of
Yeah,
this one, okay?
yeah.
and they just don't have that extra body,
That's
that extra
correct.
full-timer.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think we'll go ahead and end this at 5:59 and.
We do somebody else. Are we gonna call?
What's that?
Are we gonna first and second?
Want to make
Yes.
sure we're crossing the T's and
So,
dotting the I's.
I'll take a motion
Dotting the
to
T's
adjourn
and
the
crossing the T's,
special
something like that.
budget meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We're not there yet.
What's that?
No.
No, she hasn't started. She hasn't
Yeah,
called the order yet.
understood. Okay. Welcome to the regular scheduled Tuesday, February 7th, City Council meeting. Would you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Bergman,
Here.
Nichols, Osborne, Siebel, Smock.
Here.
Number 4, approval of the February 7th, 2023 agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Number 5, years of service, appreciation, Cassidy Deeds. I'm sure the chief wants to come up and say something, and I'm sure all the council members would like to, Cass, if you want to join us up here.
I wanted to thank the council for taking a moment to recognize Cass Dietz and the community to take a moment to recognize Cass. Due to some unfortunate circumstances, Cass had to step away from the department and go take care of his family. Cass is a very upstanding man that obviously is going to do what he needs to do as far as what he feels is right for his family. At this point, it's a step away from the department, which is a huge loss for this department and a huge loss for the city of Evansdale. Cass is by far one of the best officers I know. He's a good cop. We're definitely going to miss him.
So we'd like to present you with this Years of Service Award, and we appreciate all of your service that you've done for us. We're going to miss you greatly. Please stop in once in a while and just say hi, please.
Yes.
You want to give a speech, Cass?
Not necessarily. I appreciate Chief Dean and all the kind words, and obviously Mary Deanne. It was a tough decision. I didn't expect to have to make this move at this time, but it's, I think, what's right. Everything happens for a reason. It was exactly 365 days ago that everything kind of changed.
Oh, wow.
For tonight to be the night of the council meeting was just kind of serendipitous, I guess. So
I've kind of opened the door to Cass if things ever change, if circumstances ever change. He finds himself wanting to get back into law enforcement. We would love to have him back.
I wanted to say one thing to him. I've heard a lot of compliments about you, Cass, out on the street. So I commend you for your service, because I've had nothing but utmost respect to anybody that's talked to me about you. So you're going to be sadly missed, and hope you still keep us in mind.
thank you. I
Well,
appreciate it.
For the record, though, if you start getting into some really good sweet corn,
Tonight we have with us, if you'd like to stand up, please. Dustin? This is Dustin with Bergen KDV. We had chosen Bergen KDV, sorry.
It's a lot of
I know, right? Sometimes it is. For our FY22 audit, he's going to do the presentation. We were with the state, and the state had said that they just didn't have the personnel to continue to do it. So we've been blessed with Bergen KDV. It was a great audit, and we really enjoy working with them. So Dustin, you have the floor.
Perfect. So you have the PowerPoint in front of you that I'm going to kind of be presenting. This is kind of a summary of, when you get the full reports, it'll be 2 full reports.
It should be on your desk.
It'll be a thicker financial statements that'll have all the actual numbers in it. And it'll be the communication letter, which has all the pretty pictures, the charts, graphs, kind of on a 5-year picture. And so we mainly are going to focus on the information that'll be in that second document with the 5-year history. Because you as city council, it gives you kind of more of the information you need to lead from a high level and figure out if you're headed in the right direction financially.
No.
So starting with the PowerPoint, I'll start on slide 2, which is our independent auditors report. So we actually issue about 3 different reports as part of your audit. And so the very first one is probably our most important one. It's our opinion on your financial statements. And so we do give an unmodified opinion, which is the best we are allowed to give as your auditors. It basically says that your financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. The second report that we issue is the Government Auditing Standards Report. So because of the level of government funding you receive, we look a little bit closer at your compliance with laws, contracts, grant agreements, internal controls, all that good stuff. And we did have one material weakness, which is the highest level finding we give. And so that's related to lack of segregation of accounting duties. And the reason that you got it this year, and maybe not in years past at such a high level, is because you did go for a time without a city clerk. And so there wasn't multiple people in the office necessarily handling every transaction. And so next year when we come back, we'll evaluate the internal controls, with Dana being in there for the full year. And we'll look closer at those internal controls and reevaluate whether we need to have a similar finding next year. And then the last report is the Iowa Code of Compliance, which is it's a bunch of checklists the state auditor makes us complete checking compliance with specific state statutes, and we had no findings related to that test work. So, good news there. So, high level, just the one material weakness related to lack of segregation of accounting duties, which for a city of your size it's definitely our most common finding we give. We probably give that finding to 90 to 95% of our cities your size. So, you're in good company there. So the rest of these slides are basically a different look at your financial picture, different pieces of your financial picture over a 5-year history. So the first couple slides are looking at your general fund. So starting with your general fund, so your receipts exceeded your disbursements by about $34,000, and so your cash fund balance overall increased by about $200,000 because of some transfers in, transfers out, some miscellaneous activity. And so your unassigned fund balance is at about $1.7 million, which represents 105% of 2022 disbursements. And so the city doesn't really have a formal fund balance policy. And so that is something we recommended to Deanne and Dana to look into passing, to figure out what level of fund balance is comfortable for the city. Because having an entire year of expenditures in fund balance is great. And if that's the level you want to maintain, it's just mostly getting your buy-in as the council that that's kind of the cushion you want in your fund balance. The next slide is looking at the receipts on a 5-year picture. So you can see last year was kind of an anomaly as far as the high level of receipts. And so last year you received a CARES grant, which went into your general fund, and you also received a Blackhawk gaming grant, which went into your general fund. And so those are kind of the two big things that changed from last year to this year. The next page is looking at disbursements. So overall disbursements decreased by about $229,000, and the bulk of that was related to those Blackhawk gaming grants. And so you got the revenue last year, you spent the expenditures last year, and so those numbers just went back down to more normal levels this year. The next few slides are looking at your enterprise funds, so your sewer, your sanitation, recycling, and your stormwater. And so we start by looking at operating income. And I want to kind of qualify this slide. So this is just looking at operating income. So it's the amount you take in less your normal operating expenditures. So it doesn't take into account your debt service, your capital projects, or transfers in, transfers out to other funds. And so this slide always looks, super great. Like, our operating income for sewer is $476,000, right? But yeah, so I wanted to qualify that and we'll look at the cash balances on the next slide. So your sewer fund had a pretty significant increase in operating income from $252,000 to $476,000 this year. And so that was related to some sewer fee increases, as well as you changed how you allocated the public works salary. And so outside of this number, you did have capital disbursements of $627,000. You had some state revolving fund loan proceeds of $347,000, and then you had some transfers out. So that's obviously the fund with the most activity. We included your sanitation and stormwater so that you can monitor them, but these funds have historically just been break even and nothing super interesting to talk about. So then this final slide is your cash position, which obviously reflects all the activity, including your capital and your debt service and all that good stuff. So the sewer fund, which is the green bar, has increased, as you can see, pretty significantly from 2019. So you're starting to build up some more of that cushion. And so in the future, when you do some of those street projects or capital projects, hopefully you get to borrow less for them because you have some of that cushion. And then looking at like the black bars and the blue bars for your sanitation and stormwater, like those numbers have been fairly consistent over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So nothing I really wanted to talk about there. That was really all I had, but I'm happy to answer any questions any of you have.
I want to commend the mayor and the clerk for having fine audits that come up. This isn't on. We're having fine audits all the time. We've had it for consecutive amount of years, and that's good to see those kind of audit reports when we get them, because you hear things out in the world. So I want to thank both of you for the hard work to keep this in line as it's been going.
Thank you, Steve.
No problem, ladies.
Thank you, Dustin.
Perfect.
Oh, any other questions? I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks to Dana and Deanne. They were awesome to work with, and we're super excited to have a relationship with the city. So,
Thank you for
beautiful.
coming.
Yeah, the last page is my contact info if any of you ever have any questions that I can help with.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Dustin.
Have a great night.
You too. So, last but not least, no, I'm kidding. We have with us tonight Marcus and Barrett, and they are both with Shive Hattery, and they are overseeing our Lafayette Road project. I know it's been a long time coming. I'm hoping and thanking everybody for their patience through this process. I had spoke with Marcus last week, and he said, due to this being now a DOT project, there's some amendments that have to be done to our preliminary plans, and they'll have to go back to our preliminary plans, make those changes, make those amendments for the DOT, and then we'll have to approve those as well as the final plans, and then that goes to DOT for bidding in November next year, or this year. I'm sorry, this year. So, questions, concerns, comments? You want to talk to them about Lafayette Road?
You guys all have a history of the project. I know some of you have been on council when we were working on this like 4 years ago.
Yes.
But I could kind of give a 5-minute, couple-minute overview of,
Sure.
for those of you that are new.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we were approached by the city of Evansdale, I believe in 2018,
Yep.
to look at a resurfacing project and a rehabilitation project on Lafayette Road from Evans Road here down to the city limit, where it crosses into Elkhorn, just prior to the bridge there. And so we went through working with 2 mayors ago, previous, to come up with a plan to fund it, or to reconstruct this. And the plan at that point in time was it was going to be all city funds. They weren't going to involve any of the state funds, because Doug at the time was looking to get the project done sooner rather than later. And so that was the direction that we went forward with this. We were going to reconstruct the shoulders on both sides and actually widen out the lanes, because right now we've got 2 10-foot lanes out there with that old concrete road that's probably approaching 85-ish years old now at this point in time.
41.
What?
41.
It was 41.
It was built, okay, so maybe not quite 80.
I was here.
Wow. And so, and then reconstruct the shoulders and restripe it, and smoothing out that ride. And so we got all the way into final plans, and then there was changeover with mayor and all sorts of things, and the direction changed that we were going to go apply for an STBG grant through the Intercog MPO. And so we did that early on in 2020, and were awarded, I believe it was $1.707 million from the state. Now that brings it into a state. Actually, it actually federalizes the state project. So we now have to go through all environmental clearance and things like that. Now we should be able to get a categorical exclusion on the NEPA for NEPA clearance. We've got 0 property impacts because the city has plenty of right-of-way down there, so there's going to be no temporary construction easements that are even required to complete this project. So all of those sorts of things will help this fast track through. So all of those funds were awarded and released. There was about 120,000, I think, that were released and available in October of 22, which is the start of federal fiscal year 23. And then the remaining balance of the $1.7 million will be available October 1 of this year. And so that's why we're targeting the November letting period. It's be a great time to get bids in. We should get probably some of the lowest bids possible in this climate here. With a November bid, it'll give the contractor plenty of time to get all their materials and everything ordered and hit the ground running in spring of 24 as soon as the snow melts and get the project complete. So that's kind of a brief history. What Deanne kind of alluded to a little bit is with the federal funds, and it's going to be let through the DOT system. So we were using basically SUDAS bid items and everything for the locally let project that we had originally. Those will all have to be transferred over to DOT bid items, and we'll have to go back through the whole DOT process. So fortunately for us, like these plans that we're going to dust off the shelf and pull off the shelf are really kind of at that 95% level plans. So we'll go through and do a deep dive in them, just see if there's any errors and omissions that we happen to leave in there and catch, get all the bid items and everything turned over. And that level of plan detail we will submit as preliminary plans to the DOT. So we'll call them preliminary plans, even though they are really pretty much final level, because we actually did the project
Right.
in November of 19.
December.
Or December of 19.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the level of comments that we get back from the DOT in that May, after that, with that May submittal should be fairly minimal anyway. We'll address those, submit them back in the beginning of July as the check plan submittal, just as we work through the DOT process. We should get 0 comments back at that point in time. We probably won't get 0, but it should be, again, extremely minimal. We'll flip those back around and submit them back in August as part of the letting schedule, which will get it in the books and everything and ready to go through the DOT letting process. And there should be no city involvement in anything at that point in time. They'll handle everything, as well as get the contract with the contractor and everything and move it through. So,
And I think the only thing, and Justin and council had discussed this, not at length, but is to do a dedicated walk lane, pedestrian lane.
yeah. So there will be a bike lane on the south, kind of west side of Lafayette. It will be striped that, so we'll take the shoulder. The shoulder will still, both the shoulders will be paved completely, but we will actually stripe off that as a bike lane, so pedestrians and bikes can use it. It'll be basically 10 feet wide, or 8 feet wide, I think, because it's currently about 10 feet is what the gravel-ish, rubble-ized shoulder is now. 2 feet of that's going to become striped lane, and then the balance of that will be the bike lane. And so, yes, pedestrians would be free to use it as well.
And that's great.
Yeah.
The other thing that came up, not only making sure we had something designated, totally conceptual, because I don't know, I've seen things in different cities to know what's possible and then what it all changes, but especially with our schools, that's very well traveled by kids and stuff because they're right off of Lafayette for those areas. So the dedicated space is great, but not only do sometimes kids like to be kids and step out into the road, but then also just kind of a way to help protect that lane a little bit. So not like big concrete barriers or anything, but like I've seen where they almost just do a square curb or something just to prevent a tire or something.
That. Right now, the plan was really just to put a big extra wide stripe and kind of really visually segregate those two with nothing physical. Snowplows, I know the street department would hate that, to have a little curb there. I know it does provide the protection for them, but then the snowplow is going to hit it and pop it off, and it's a constant maintenance nightmare. So let's have that discussion. So
just what's possible
with you guys, with
between the kids
and making sure that we're all on the same page with that.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, so that was a change. The bike lane was a change that was made during the application process for the STBG funds from the plans that were let because it helped to it made the application look a lot nicer.
Kind of wondering that, like, I would think it would help us because as much as the whole parks and rec and beautification and all that's out there, I was like, that would be a big feature.
So
I just wanted to make sure.
We are putting in activated beacon crosswalks there at
Roosevelt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Schools.
So,
perfect.
Yep. I can't remember. I think there's actually 3 signs. There is an advanced sign on Roosevelt for those that are turning that will flash. So it'll have the rectangular rapid flashing beacons with the sign, and it'll kind of light up when they hit the button and whatnot. So that'll be there as a safety aspect for kids that are crossing Lafayette going to the schools.
Perfect, because yeah, if we're gonna redo it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of school, a lot of kids, a lot of just.
Just stand up, would you, Tom? He just has a quick question for you.
Just a suggestion, I don't know if it'll work or not, but instead of a curb, put a rumble strip all the way down.
We can put rumble, yeah.
Because that way there, the kids are gonna hear if the car goes over the rumble strip, they should hear that. It also should warn the driver of the vehicle that, hey, I'm too far over, I need to get back in.
Yeah, because you can paint right over those rumble strips as well. So yeah, that's a good idea. Well,
is this a reconstruction or a total just an overlay?
so we're going with a overlay. So the gravel rubbleized shoulders are going to be completely reconstructed. I can't remember how much of it is going to be full depth asphalt because we are widening the travel lanes out to 12 feet. So we are going to put some pretty heavy, thick asphalt down in that first, 3 or 4 feet. And then the rest of it will just be partial depth, thin depth asphalt out there as we reconstruct those shoulders. And that's a cost savings thing for the city in doing that.
But the main roadway is going to be reconstructed?
No.
Okay.
What the current asphalt or the current concrete that is there is going to just be overlaid. And so we are going to do it's a mix. It's called an asphalt interlayer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very high polymer asphalt mixture that goes down over the roadway first, and that helps to then, when you put the actual travel surface over the top of it, it minimizes those reflective cracks that come through. So that's been used throughout the state for the last 10 plus years or so, and there's been really good results with longevity of the pavement surface up there. And then in 20 years, 25 years, when it needs to be resurfaced, you can just mill off that top layer and replace that, and you don't ever even get back down to the concrete and all of that.
But and I just want clarification on this because I was understanding that the actual current cement road was going to be crushed.
I have to go back and look at the plan. I think we do have it. We might have a. If it is, it's called a crack and seat.
Yes.
So
okay.
I don't remember if it's in there because I know
I believe we did that.
They had talked about the fact that these panels.
It changed after the mayor changed in 2020. We changed to a crack and seat.
Did we do a crack and seat?
Yeah, but
I know there was.
I don't know if it stayed this way. I don't remember.
It has been a couple minutes ago.
So I do remember that there was talk of those panels out there, the original panels, which the majority of it is. I know there's been some patches and from storm pipes that have been placed in there, so it's been cut and pulled out. But that stuff is really, really strong and really hard.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how well it will respond to a traditional crack and seat with that, and how much effort they're going to actually have to bring out to crack that thing up. The idea of a crack and seat is instead of having solid panels that rotate all on their own, it's more individualized, small little chunks that are all interlocked together, and it acts more like a granular surface when you put the asphalt on. So it helps to minimize those reflective cracks. But that was the reason for the interlayer was not to have to do the crack and seat. But I can go back and look at that. I mean, doing both of them together you'll get less reflective cracking.
Yeah, and I guess my concern more is, just as time has went by and we've experienced some things on Lafayette Road, there's some undermining underneath there where there's just dead air.
Yeah.
So, we don't want to be to the point where we're covering up the bad. Right, Chris?
Right, absolutely.
And if there are spots like that, there's different things that we can do to try to inject some stuff down into the soil to help fill up some of those voids before we put stuff on top of it. Because once this goes down, we don't want to be coming out here digging this thing up and tearing this into this thing.
I was wondering if you'd be...
okay. I mean, we'll definitely. We're not just going to be like, all right, dust the plans off and send them off. That's part of this whole deep dive into this. And that's why really our fees are what they are at this point in time, even though we've already gone to a final plan state. We have to go back and check and make sure that everything is in order And so it's really a benefit to the city to spend this extra $50,000-ish or whatever the contract is at this point in time, so that we make sure that we get a good, solid project in the end, and not just one that's gonna fall apart here.
Yeah, well,
So that's
not
what
after
we want
what
to
our
do.
not after what our residents have been through all these years.
Yeah.
Anybody have any plans for Barrett?
I've been told asphalt and concrete don't match.
So we put asphalt down on top of concrete all the time because it's a easier way to refresh the surface than it is to tear it all up and rebuild it, right? So the problem with that is when you have all these just concrete panels, you're going to see those cracks just come straight through if you don't do anything. So that's the reason for the two different treatment options that we will typically look at. One is crack and seep, and two is the asphalt interlayer. That those help to mitigate those cracks from coming through and give you a clean, rideable surface for a much longer period of time. It's not to say that you will never see a reflective crack come through on any of these treatments, because it just is going to. But it's a lot cheaper to do that than it is to rebuild the entire road.
Because I've been told you go to blacktop or some concrete, every 3 trucks you're going to have somebody come out and test that and see if there's any bubbles in it.
So,
and if the bubbles in it, you tear it back out.
Yeah, they will be testing it as they're putting it down and making sure the contractor's doing it right. So they do need to still get good compaction on the asphalt and everything. So, but yeah, you can put it down.
Because I got my son works up in Sheffield. He worked in the county, and 2 of the guys out of the county had to go to Mason City to DOT to check, to show them that's how for the concrete thing, because they put bridges up there and that, and he had a test that, and if it don't test, you tear it.
That's right.
You tear it right out.
Whether it's concrete or asphalt, when we're putting material down like that, they're testing it both at the plant where it's being produced, and they're testing it on site on grade. So,
Council, do you have any questions for Barrett this evening?
No, I'm just glad that it's going to get started and roll.
Right, I think we all are, especially the residents of Evansdale.
Yeah, they're going to enjoy it.
I think that's the same thing they done with Evans Road here. They rusted all the concrete up and then put the on top.
I think so. We were not involved in that one, but
yeah,
it's starting to crack up now.
You will always see those things come through.
There's a big hole right in front of his house.
They did that on purpose.
We believe that was a water main leak we had a couple weeks ago.
I had nothing to do with that, folks.
Thank you, Barrett.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So number 8 is request to enter an agreement with Shive Hattery for the amendment of preliminary and final plans to DOT specifications for the Lafayette construction project in the amount of $53,150.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public discussion. If anyone would like to speak this evening, please come up to the podium, state your name and your address. Thank you, Barrett. Thank you, Marcus.
Good evening. You too.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Parker, on 17 Marion Avenue.
It is, though. I mean, it's on.
Test.
Is that on?
Yeah, it is on.
It is not pulling.
I can speak loudly.
Okay. Oh, by the way, we're in the process of having our getting a quote for our mixer. It's on its way out. That's the problem with our volume we've been having for about a good 6 months now.
I want to thank all of you for all the work you do with the numbers, with the budget. On behalf of the citizens of Evansdale, I'd like to ask you to continue to keep our costs down so that you don't raise taxes on citizens this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
You can comment on anything?
Yeah. Come up to the podium, John,
Okay,
please.
I just want to be sure.
Okay.
About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I had a snowmobiler drive in my front yard. He drove all the way from bike trail all the way to the end of the east end and to Evans Road. And from Evans Road, he continued on up East End, and then he's on the road itself, and the way it looked, then he went up River Forest Road. I don't know what our rules and regulations are, but I talked to the chief, and he says that they got to catch the people to do this. I would think it would be a very easy thing to leave the snowmobilers in this town know that if they don't find out and tell somebody who did this, maybe we ought to change some of the rules and regulations on using a snowmobile, because that's uncalled for.
Right. Thank you, John.
You bet.
I appreciate it. Anyone else this evening?
That one works.
We either no sound or really loud.
It's just no middle.
Hello, my name's Tom Bartholomew. I live on Heather Avenue, and thanks for your time, and you answered all my questions about Lafayette Street.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Believe it or not, we appreciate accolades every now and again.
Hi, my name is Jason Henry. I live at 833 Jones Road. And I talked to Deanne yesterday about possibly maybe getting no parking signs on Jones Road from Gilbert to Central. I feel our street is too narrow for people to be parking on the street, especially for snowplows, any type of construction going on, and whatnot. That's what I got to bring up.
Okay. If council would mind, I would like you to drive on Jones from West Gilbert to Central, maybe different times throughout the next couple of weeks, and maybe we'll have a discussion on it on our next agenda, just a discussion, possible action, because I can understand what he's talking about, because it is a narrow road, and you know, especially when people are parking on it, it's really hard for others to get by, quite frankly. So if you could take some time in the next couple of weeks and do that, I'd really appreciate it.
What's the right of way width on that? Do we
What's
know?
that?
What's the right of way width on that area? Do we know?
No.
It's a narrow street, yeah. Most people got a long driveway anyway, so I don't see any problem. We'd have to put no parking on there.
Is it parking on
Jones
both
Road.
sides?
Both sides, yeah. Well, one side's a mailbox, you can't park in there anyway, so.
Well, can doesn't mean they don't.
Yeah. I think we park on the road anyway.
I do understand, parking there if you're having a gathering, but every day or every other day, if someone's parking there, or parking on the road, just to park on the road.
There's normally truck and trailer and stuff that's down just past the stop sign off of Trail. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I know where you're talking.
Yep. Especially from Brookside to Central, that's very narrow.
Mm-hmm.
You should know, you grew up with us.
Mm-hmm. Yep, ran down there a lot.
Anyone else for public discussion? Number 10, boards and commissions. Michael with the Evansdale Municipal Housing Authority had a request from Joy Sanchez to serve on this board. They are looking for one more appointment on the board, so I take a motion to approve.
And make a motion to approve their request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 11 is approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 12 is approval of the resolution calendar, and there is just the res of bills on the calendar as this evening. So I'll take a motion to approve.
I just had one question, Mary, before we approve it. I see the truck is on there is that a separate line item for the truck, the bucket truck, 5,800? Or is that in with the bills tonight? Has that been repaired? I guess that was just my question.
No.
No, not yet?
I guess I didn't think I saw.
No, she's. Okay. I just wondered if we were waiting on something to get it fixed or what.
Yeah, we approved it at the last meeting.
Just waiting on approval.
Yeah, I thought we had.
Oh, it's on here.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Yeah,
No,
it's
that's
fine.
not part of the resolution
Oh, okay.
calendar tonight. Just because we had some ones we had to resend, they weren't part of it.
I just wanted to make sure that's on there to go.
Do you have a motion?
No, please.
I'll second
Okay. Roll call, please.
Bergman,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Siebel,
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
So the resending of resolutions here is due to the number 6598 and 6614 had been approved previously by council this year. The auditor's office called me since we amended our tax abatement, so there wasn't levels, and it was going to be just for a straight 5 years. The auditor's office actually asked me if we wanted to go ahead and amend those, and we decided we did. And of course, it's up to you guys. So rescind resolution 6598. That being said, I'll take a motion for that.
I'll make that motion to rescind 6598 resolution.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Nichols,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Siebel,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
Number 14, approving resolution 6675 for the same said tax abatement for 947
So moved.
West Gilbert.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Osborne,
Yes.
Siebel,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Bergman,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
15, rescind resolution 6614 tax abatement 103 Thomas.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Siebel,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Bergman,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
16, resolution 6676 approving the same said tax abatement.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Smock,
Yes.
Bergman,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Siebel.
Yes.
And resolution 6677 is actually a new tax abate application for 920 Fox Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Bergman,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Siebel,
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
Number 18, request from mayor to update the firewall software renewal for 3 years. Just because it's going to save us a significant amount of money, about $400 for City Hall, Public Works, and Waterworks in the amount of $3266.10 with computer troubleshooters. And then the breakdown is therefore, and this is as budgeted for FY23.
I'd
How
make
much
that
problems do
motion.
you have with
The firewall?
Yeah.
Well, we need the firewall because that is what keeps the bad people out.
Can we in any way incorporate with the library? I mean, there's been discussion about protection there.
I do not choose to.
Oh, okay. So
Just because our we have a lot of HIPAA stuff on our software on our network. There's a lot more that could go wrong for people in the library that can do anything on those computers, and we're restricted on our computers from what we can do and websites we can go to, and that's part of the
I just thought
firewall
that-
thing, and probably Justin can speak to it as well.
Yeah, and I know probably where you're going, Steve, is if we continue to add bulk, items to it to try to get a further discount. At this level of just 3 and 4, the best discount you're going to get is the volume renewals, so 3 year. So the library would get the same renewal whether they're by themselves or in with these 3. So you'd be good there.
And you wanted to maintain a separate network entirely anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 19, request from Public Works Director to rebuild the transmission on the 1995 bucket truck in the amount of $5,825 with K&M Services. And just a little back history on, that's the only reason we received one quote, is because one person would quote it. So I know we try to get 2 quotes when something is in that amount range. But actually Chris called 3 different people, so K&M is the only one that would service our bucket truck.
I'd make that motion to approve that expense from the Public Works Director for $58.25 for the transmission on the bucket truck.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 20, request to take bids for the sale of 2013 Dodge Charger. Bids will be received until 4:00 p.m. February 21st. From what I understand, Stiver Ford, the one that we're going to purchase the new squad vehicle from, is going to come up and actually take the necessary equipment out of that vehicle. So, and that is Councilman Siebel had stated.
That was what I understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Have they been in contact with you?
No.
Okay. I'll take a motion to approve.
Just, and I apologize, quick question on it. Refresh my memory, because I thought we went through to see, and we had set a minimum bid of $2,500 because of what we thought. Where does this land in conjunction to that? Did we not get a minimum bid
No,
last time?
we
or?
actually still.
Yeah, you weren't here. So
Yeah, I was out. I
Yeah,
don't
we
remember it
actually
from the
still
recording.
have the bids. We tabled it. We have not opened the bids.
Okay.
Those bids are still valid because they're
What
in a
happened
sealed
is-
envelope.
Yes, that's
because
right.
It was stated as is, and we still had all the official equipment on it.
Right.
Which
Yep.
we didn't want to.
And we meant more for the repairs, the mechanical side of it. Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
Where would-
That's, I needed my memory refreshed.
Where would that change? They bid on the car, if we're gonna keep the bids, they bid on the car as is at the time we asked for bids. And if they.
We're gonna advertise again.
Yeah, but you're gonna notify them that they're.
Yeah, I would reach out to the
Yes.
current bidders that
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
can resubmit a bid.
Yep.
Because we had one bidder that wanted the police equipment on it.
Yeah.
Or made accusations that as is meant I'm getting all
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
No, you can't have a siren and lights.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Right.
It'd be really cool though.
Exactly. It's in your front yard. That's about it.
Yeah.
You can use it out in the country.
Do they want to fill out an application?
There you go.
True.
Valid.
He'll send you to school.
Good one.
Did I get a motion for that?
No, I interrupted. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Open bids.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request from mayor to extend agreement with Jim Benda on lot 1, Eagles Landing. We actually had some issues with the development agreement. We were kind of going back and forth, and then I had our attorney look at our development agreement, and he had a lot of issues with the one that was prepared. So it's in the hands of Jim Benda right now. So this is something that should be wrapping up pretty soon, and we'll be moving forward.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request from mayor to amend the Eagles Landing design standards, height of pole sign, as part of that standards that we have set forth for Eagles Landing. Okay, so when you enter into Eagles Landing, you have Burger King, you have McDonald's, and you have Arby's, and I think even Flying J have all 100-foot poles. So for some reason, I think it was dismissed. You know, we have to allow at least that. We're not going to go above that, but you'll want to have that kind of frontage on the interstate, so you're to attract your customers, I guess.
What does the current design standard have?
25.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There'd be so many signs up there, you would lose, I think it would ruin
But the thing is, these are 2-acre lots, Ron. They're 2 acres apiece.
yeah, but how many
Width.
lots are there?
14 in total on the south
14.
side and the north side.
14 signs up there plus what you got? Sure, I can see the point, but I
Yeah.
would see a sign would be out or visible from the interstate coming in. And most towns do, and that's what they got. They have listed on there what's available there.
Yeah, I know, but you're not gonna be able to see that from the interstate. You're only gonna be able to see that if you come into town.
What do you mean you can't see it from the interstate?
You're talking
Well-
the DOT blue signs?
Huh?
You talking the DOT blue signs?
No, a sign that sits on, you'd have to be on the city property or somebody's property. But if you cut all them trees down, that's growing up along
okay.
there and put a
We're gonna
sign
be
up
working
there.
on that soon as we get our
That's gonna
bucket
have to
truck
be
running.
taken out there, it's gonna look like crap anyway. Put all them big signs up there, I mean, you might as well put a swing on.
I think it will make it more visible from the interstate, though.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yes.
I mean, because like if I'm driving down the road and
Oh,
I have
yeah.
to want to stop and get
I mean,
gas, I look for
which
those.
sign you gonna look at?
Well,
Every sign up there.
I was gonna say all of them.
hopefully, I'm looking and not looking sideways, but I would
Should
look
have
for
it turned
something
around so you
specific.
come around and come back again in case you miss one of them.
Well, if we've got unlimited supply of funds, sure, let's do it.
Put swings on them.
And it doesn't mean that they're gonna do it. It's just
The availability of it.
the availability to do it if they want to. I mean, these are huge lots. These lots are 2 acres apiece.
I know if I'm going to
I mean, it's not
money,
gonna be like, here's a sign, here's a sign, here's a sign, here's a sign.
Yeah.
They're gonna be completely spread out.
If I'm investing money on something like that and I have it, and I'm not the frontage lot, I want a sign big enough where people can see it.
I agree. That's going to attract the businesses that we want. You know, we got to have the infill. So.
Have we had any more interest, Mayor, of anything else other than what I know?
No.
Okay.
But, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day.
We're past the date, but we're working on it.
I'm hopeful that once, right now it's tough with all the snow and anything, but yeah, come spring, come this, even in the next month or so, March, April, hopefully with, Jim doing his thing and a couple others start seeing that we've been in negotiations with. Yeah, it'd be nice to see some dirt start moving a little bit. And I think that'll,
by amending this might actually attract more interest too, saying they don't have to go through that hurdle down the road with us if we get it opened up right now.
It'll make good lightning rods anyway.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request from city clerk to sign an annual agreement with Computer Troubleshooters in the amount of $64.40 for IT services for City Hall and Public Works for FY24. This does not begin until July, but when it was going across my desk, I'm like, we might as well just get it on the agenda and get it in action for the next fiscal year for July 1st.
I'll make that motion if there's no discussion.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Request from Chief Dean to allow the purchase in the amount of $350 for Officer Dietz' service weapon.
So move.
Second.
How much are they originally?
Market value was 300 the last time we looked.
That's the market
last
value
time
from
Randy retired.
we got it from a gun professional. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mayor Council reports. The one thing was Jason already talked about Jones Road and just for you guys to drive down that and bring your recommendation back. As I've told some of you already, I've been dealing with the sound all night, going up and down, maximum sight and sound. We're here today, and it did act up, thankfully, while they were here, because it seems to be an intermittent problem. Anyway, we are seeking quotes for a new mixer because our problem is the mixer. So it's just turns off and on constantly.
I didn't know it's not me because I was here just got here 6 months ago.
Yeah, no, it's not you.
Change them speakers back, and so what you're doing too is getting feedback, and that speaker feeds into here. When you're talking, it comes out that speaker, then it picks it up again.
Okay.
And
So
mainly, we can hear each other here, it's the audience. I sat back there one day and I couldn't hear nothing.
You hear it back there, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. Huh?
Mike, I said Mike.
Council.
I had one thing where I wanted to bring up, if the council would look at it this year, changing the 4th of July fire off times, maybe going down to 1 day. I had a lot of people complain last year, the 3 or 4 day gig. I'm not against fireworks, but my God, maybe I just had the neighborhood where everybody,
You just brought World War III to our doorstep, Steve. I'm with you on both, but there is no winning this argument, I guarantee.
well, maybe we can discuss it.
No, I'm saying even for us, there's just no winning for any of
Right.
us, whether we go in or out. We'll be on both sides, but I'm up for discussing it because, yes, I get it from both directions.
I think it's something we could address in time to be live for this July 4th. 1 day, 24 hours.
Anything else, Council?
I did, just following up on a couple items from last week. The copier. I know we were trying to figure out pricing and if they would hold it or anything just to see.
Thank you for bringing that up because I completely forgot. It just went. We're not able to get another quote. And I'm definitely not going to be able to get a comparable quote because no one else is allowed to sell Canon in the state of Iowa besides the company that we're working with. I did find out though, Ron, I have to commend you for this. I did ask what it just cost to purchase the used one, the good used one that they're going to warranty for all these years, for $3,750.
Just to buy it?
$3,750 compared to, I think it was, I don't know, $10,000 to
for the big ones.
lease it. Yeah, but they do, and they do have a maintenance agreement for $36 a month that we would go with.
That you put on it? Okay.
Yeah, so that's a consideration. I didn't get it on the agenda. I had other things going on. It was the last thing on my mind. He did reach out to me this afternoon. I had another company that was, pretty hot to give us a quote last June. He's been calling me quite a bit here, but I reached out to him to give us a quote, a current quote. Never heard back from him.
Gotcha. Is that Rico
Cook.
Dealer?
No, it was Cook.
K-O-C-H?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So
Cedar Rapids.
I really don't know what you guys want me to do, how you want me to move forward with that. So.
Do you go through a left toner or not? Because that toner's expensive. I don't know if that,
Well, I think that maintenance agreement covers toner.
Does it?
For $36 a month.
That's huge.
That is.
I mean, I would
the
double
toner
check.
thing
that
is-
out because that would be huge.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
But I mean, $37.50 for a machine that they're willing to warranty for another
Yeah,
5
if you
years.
can get it used like that, then
Yeah.
then they'll stand behind it because that's the problem. Is normally when you buy your own, a lot of companies are like, nope, either you get everything through us or we don't want to touch it, and then they're the only dealer. And yeah, it's designed well if you're in that business for sure.
They done that with me, and I told them where to stick it. I bought the computer for the copier. We've had no problem with it. Now we'll fix our own. We put the ink in that, but don't cost you hardly anything. Get a big bag of ink, and I haven't had any problem at all with it. But before they had the service agreement, but they wouldn't come and service it unless you had a problem. But you got to pay them all the time.
So
Yeah, I
it
would.
sounds like it would be more.
Well, if you want me to find out what the service agreement
Covers.
covers,
Yeah.
I would definitely do that, and maybe respond back to you tomorrow email because they still have that
Good.
copier that we looked at, and that's a lot better price than.
But no, we bought ours refurbished, and we've had no problem at all with it. We've had it, 7, 8, 10 years? I don't know.
Then just in this, Don, I mean, I had a note from the last council meeting that I wanted to bring up for discussion, and I can do this offline if it's nothing that pertains. But as far as the wastewater treatment plant, we obviously need internet, and we've got MediaCom putting in, but a pretty chunk, not only monthly, but to install it. Was there a certain level of service requirement or anything that we needed to have in order for any of the grant pricing or the government funding that we were getting for it that required a certain level of internet or anything?
No.
Because where I'm going with this is something that's become very popular in the area that I do know I've seen now for a while that works well is T-Mobile, ironically enough. Their internet service is $50 a month, and it works just fine. So just something that if we aren't locked into anything yet to explore as we get closer, that would help with some operational expenditures with that, and reduce it by 75%.
Actually, the engineer's recommendation is hardwired.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely got to be hardwired, whatever it
Okay.
is. We did talk to them because, they're putting USL 5G
Mhm.
small cells in our city.
Yep.
They'll start that project probably in the spring or summer next year. And that wasn't going to be a viable solution.
Okay. And that's why I was curious if they needed anything specific for it, but
And, actually Lee Grassley with Unicom stopped in today. So, and I talked to him about, the projects and, some of the things going forward, the campground, just a couple different things. And, we're totally fine. Last week I had a long conversation with Jason with Mediacom. He's not in sales. He's in service, and he's over the installation team. So he said it'd be fine if we went with coaxial, which is $16,000 to have ran instead of $60,000 for fiber.
Fiber. Yep.
So in the monthly fee was reasonable. It was like $2 something with a 5-year contract.
200 and something a month.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay. Anybody else?
Don't look at me.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Third.
Got him again.
All in favor?
Aye.
Woohoo!